And we're back with another glorious episode of the Free Roam Podcast. How you doing, Mr. Jor? How you doing?
Look, do you know a way to repair an Xbox? With of course the news last week that they were gonna leave the hardware business and just like quit altogether. I thought I was like done. I was like, I'm not gonna play on my Xbox anymore. I'm gonna throw this thing away out of the window, and it broke. And yeah, now we just got the news, and I'm kind of like wondering if you know a way to fix it.
Now I feel like an idiot. I don't know what happened. Yeah, so for those of you not aware, or if it just slipped your mind, that's totally fine. Xbox just 32 minutes ago posted a podcast thing explaining their business model and kind of what they're planning on doing moving forward. And it was their attempt to directly address all of these rumors that have been going around for the last month or so about them bringing some of their biggest games to PlayStation, and all the biggest Xbox fanboys were like sharing videos of them throwing away their Xboxes and like burning Xbox shirts they had. It was honestly very, very funny. It's like when a like fan of a football team is upset that a player got traded or retired or something or moved to another team, and so they burn all of their merchandise and everything as if that's going to make a difference. That's basically what happened here.
Yeah.
And now that we know the actual details of what their plan is and what they're doing, I think a lot of people probably are going to feel a little silly, but we'll go through all of that. Before we jump into it, how have the last week and a half, 2 weeks treated you?
Yeah, pretty well. I finished Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. I really like that game, and I think we should all support it because we don't get these AAA or AA nearly AAA new IP single player action RPGs often, because mostly these companies that make these types of games are investing in like either popular franchises like in terms of movies or like Marvel games obviously, or just like a God of War or something, but a completely new fresh take on that genre. We don't see that often, and they really nailed, I think, what they set out to do. So if you like these types of games, basically like God of War, but you have narrative choices that have very big consequences. It's a very unique, unique type of game. We both did a video on it, so check it out. I think, it's worth the shout out. So I was playing that, and then so I went from a high to like, for me, maybe the lowest of lows.
Oh,
Skull and Bones. Oh my god. I thought I was not gonna like the game, but damn. I'm working on I was first like, I'm not gonna do a video on it, but I was doing the stream, and I still had a lot of people asking like, what do you think? What do you think? And I thought it was like pretty clear that you should not buy this game, but some people are still, it's like a pirate game from Ubisoft. I like Black Flag. Let's give it a shot. But I want to warn people. It's really not great.
There's
I think
so
the
many
worst
bizarre choices. Yeah.
It's the worst full-priced Ubisoft game that I think I've played ever. Maybe.
Yeah. Don't you know it's quadruple A though? Don't you know that?
Oh yeah, no, it's like another level. Yeah, that's so weird, man. That's just they spent $200 million on it, but that doesn't mean that we should pay full price for it. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah. Now like there's so many little bitty choices. Like the first few hours of the game, you have to grind like collecting materials. So you're playing a pirate game where you're like sailing around cutting down trees, but not going on shore to cut down trees, going and doing like a little mini game on
like a mobile mini game. It's like
it's so bad. And like I've played the end game because I got to go to a preview event where we got to do that. And that was better. It at least felt like a pirate game, but they wouldn't say how far in the game that was. They just kept saying dozens and dozens of hours in. And so I'm like, if you have to play like, say 24, 36 hours to get to the pirate part of the pirate game, what are we doing? Like, that's ridiculous. So it's shocker.
Insane. It's really like, usually these live service games try to hook you in that first hour because they want to make sure that okay, I'm investing tens of hours or maybe 100 hours into it. I know what I'm gonna get. But they really took the you start at the lowest of lows and then become a kingpin very seriously, where you really have to do the most boring tasks and sail 2,000 meters to an objective that takes you 1 minute to complete, and then sail all the way back to these like lifeless NPCs. It's wild, man. It's wild.
Yeah, it's one of those games where like at this point I've played probably like 15-20 hours of Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves, Jesus. Skull and Bones after all this time. Before it's even come out. And so the game isn't even out yet, and I'm already like done with it. So I don't know if I'll end up making another video on it. I'm just like what else
that was my take on it as well. But then I saw a lot of people that were like, "Oh, I'm gonna cancel my pre-order after watching this gameplay." I was like, "What? Why did you pre-order this in the first place?" I'm just stunned by that. But I wanted to kind of publish a warning, and it's coming along. So because I also got like a lot of feedback on. Of course, I was like a little higher on the Suicide Squad than other people, and everyone was like, "You like every game." So I'm like, yeah, but I don't like making videos on games that I don't like. Because, I don't. But now I'm like, okay, you guys wanted this. Let's do it. Let's go.
It's a similar thing I've run into where, like, I accept sponsorships for, like, the I Tried videos I do, where I'm like, yeah, if you want to pay me to play your game, make a video, share it with my audience, okay. My deal with that is we always negotiate into the contract. I'm allowed to say whatever I want to say. So even if I have problems, come across bugs, I'm allowed to put that in the video, regardless. Like I that's part of the deal. And people are often like, you sometimes will point out bugs or stuff, but you seem to like everything that you're sponsored to play. I'm like, yeah, because I'm not going to accept a sponsorship for a game I know I will hate. Like, I've been offered to try like the most crazy, like insane 10-cent over monetized like gotcha game that's basically just a casino. But we've turned that down because how am I going to make an interesting video on that? And plus I don't want to accept their money for something that I'm not interested in, and that the whole video is going to be like, this sucks. Like that doesn't help anybody. So naturally, like the videos we end up making are on games that we're more inclined to like, you know. But with all of this, sense. Like, I mean, shocker, Skull and Bones not living up to.
No, but I for me, it's like worse than I thought. It's like really just like an old school Ubisoft game suddenly appearing again. It's like, I thought we left Breakpoint in the past, but we're here again. It's wild, man. It's wild.
At least it's out. Like, it's done.
Yeah.
The tale of Skull and
Star
Bones
Wars Outlaws, Assassin's Creed Red. We're finally moving on.
It's, you know.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I saw a comment asking, so the reason I have a bag of ice on my desk is because I was taking Lachlan out of the car. And I did the thing where I had him in my right arm, and then I grabbed like the door and I swung it closed, but my thumb was caught in the door. And so I swap, and you'll have to see this on camera or on the stream, Jor, but you can see my thumbnail is starting to freak out and fill
that looks bad.
With blood. So I have a very hurt thumb at the moment, and I don't know if it's broken or what, but it does not feel good. So I have an appointment at urgent care I made right before coming downstairs for an hour and 20, well, not an hour and 20, like 2 hours from now. So we'll have to be done with the show in about an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. But thanks for your sacrifice that you're still here to do the podcast.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I have to cancel the show. I hurt my thumb. I was telling Nikki, though, Nikki just yesterday was joking because we were saying that some of these celebrities have like insurance policies on like their legs if they're like a dancer on Broadway, or they'll have insurance policies on their throat if they're a musician or something. So if they lose their voice, they are not totally ruined. And she was joking, you need to get an insurance policy on your hands, so if something happens you can still play games, and you know, or not still play games, but you can at least make money even if you can't play games to review them and stuff. And we were joking about how ridiculous that would be. But now, like, I want to play Helldivers and stuff on controller, but I can't use like the left stick because it's very painful. So it's funny that just yesterday we were joking about that, and now it's like, actually that could have been a good idea. Actually, I don't know who you go to.
Maybe you should Yeah, I don't know.
Can you imagine calling
like
your
willing to
your
do
Allstate
that
rep and just like, hey, so Allstate or State Farm, I need an insurance policy. Oh yeah, house, car. No, my thumb. Like, what? It'd be great. Anyway, but great to have all of you guys here. It's wonderful to see you.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Yes. I appreciate all of you guys here live, both on YouTube and Twitch. You guys are fantastic. I'm glad you're here. I think we probably should just deal with the elephant in the room, the titular topic, the Xbox stuff. Rango, thank you for re-upping your membership. He says, LMAO, everyone was wrong. Good job spreading rumors, especially Mr. Matt. I don't know if Matty was. I think in general, Xbox people heard rumors that X games were being considered to come to other platforms, and they took that as, oh my God, everything's coming.
If all those games were coming, the sort of headlines, this is the end, Xbox going third party, it was kind of crazy. It was insane. But I have to say, thanks to those people that sacrificed their Xbox, that threw it in the trash can, I don't know what they did with it, but they destroyed them. We have Xbox coming forward with more info than I think they were planning to share, because the rumors were always that they wanted to talk about this. It would be weird to have an announcement of Hi-Fi Rush coming to PlayStation and Switch without them getting in front of that first, right? Mm-hmm. But because of all these rumors, they're now doing this podcast. And I think even because everyone was getting this crazy, we even have info on the next Xbox. Yeah. And I don't think they were planning to share that. So I want to say, everyone who sacrificed their Xbox, thank you. I hope you have a money to buy a new one, because you did not need to do that.
You look pretty stupid right now.
Yeah, we appreciate it. So we now have some new info that we otherwise would not have.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's go over it.
Let's go over it. So just like Joraptor alluded to, the presumption a lot of people, all that was leaked and rumored was that Xbox was considering bringing games in their portfolio to other consoles, like the Switch, potentially even the PS5. That's all the rumor was. What creators took that to mean was, oh my God, Xbox is bringing Indiana Jones, Starfield, Gears, all of these games to other platforms day one. They're going to stop making consoles. Xbox is giving up.
Yeah, my library will be gone. Like, what I have to move to PlayStation, but about all my games on Xbox, what now, right? Stuff like that.
It's pure insanity. Like, it was just, and I think a lot of maybe creators and journalists weren't clear and like super precise in their language, saying this is all just, for one, it's a rumor, and in addition to it being a rumor, it's also that they're considering. It's not that they've decided to do this, it's that they thought maybe. Like, I've considered uploading videos on Rumble. Does that mean that I'm moving to Rumble? No, it would be like a secondary thing to upload there as a video backup. You heard it here first,
everyone. Yeah. No, but I really think that someone like shared the first rumor, and then I think other people that were not really like sure on that, they were not really corroborating it with multiple people. They were like, "Hey, I'm hearing this as well. So if that person hears that, it must be true." So then everyone was like sharing their things, and that really. Really went sideways. But really, the thing that we now learned, they put up a podcast, 21 minutes. Luke with big brain move watched it at 2 times the speed. So when everyone was still
at 15 minutes, man, I was done so quick.
I was like, damn, that's very smart, because I was just like listening to Phil talk like slowly. You already knew all the info. Hey, but 4 games are coming. That's what they said, but they have not said the games. Although we got The Verge and they know the games. So there will be 2 games coming first. Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment. Pentiment is, of course, the Obsidian game. Very high reviews. Launched at the end of 2020. But, yeah, nobody really played it. It's kind of like a medieval, very cool art style, detective type game. It's like a, it's not really an Xbox game. It's like not, I think, really for that audience. So it makes sense that they bring those over. And I think both Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment work on the Switch as well, because they're not that graphics heavy. And Hi-Fi Rush, like, I started playing it on Xbox, something came up, I will now totally wait for the PS5 version, because I think that game, I of course heard good things about it, but want to get those trophies now. And the other 2 games are Sea of Thieves and Grounded. So That is it.
Which
Like that.
makes
That
perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And the reason they gave is like, I mean, we are only going to do this for games that are 1 year old or like even older, and they just want those games to have a bigger audience, and that makes sense. I think also I listened to Colin Moriarty's podcast often, and he made a great point for Hi-Fi Rush. Like, that's made by Tango Gameworks in Japan, and nobody has an Xbox in Japan, so nobody in their own country has played that game. While on Switch and PlayStation, hey, of course, way more people in Japan have that. So it just makes sense. And they really said Starfield, Indiana Jones are not coming, at least not right now. Like Phil Spencer did say to The Verge, I don't think we should, as an industry, ever rule out a game going to any other platform. At least right now, it's not the plan.
Yeah. And I mean, all of these games, like you said, I think make sense to bring to places like the Switch. Pentiment on the Switch sounds perfect. Sea of Thieves, I'm honestly shocked Sea of Thieves is not already cross-platform on everything.
I mean, we got Skull and Bones now. Why would we need Sea of Thieves, right?
Yeah, I stand corrected. Hi-Fi Rush, of course, makes perfect sense. And Grounded as well, being like a multiplayer survival game, that makes perfect sense. The more people that are able to play that game across different platforms would be great. So it just makes sense. Like, all of these games make sense. And they said these are the 4. And Phil specifically said, if you're on another console and you see these 4 games coming, do not assume we're bringing more, because we're just bringing these 4. That's our plan. Maybe we bring more, maybe we don't. But now,
but if these are successful, they might, because they really are looking at this as like a test bed, and that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just like clearly say Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded. I don't know why they were so coy with it during the thing, especially because The Verge already has knowledge of what they are. But still, I mean, it's clear, it makes sense. Maybe
they made a deal with Nintendo to have that be like a direct announcement. Like, maybe there are some deals in place where, I don't know.
Yeah, they can like whisper to The Verge what it is, but their official announcement.
I think The Verge, has like sources. So.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think one of the other things that was also interesting to hear, just stated very clearly, was Matt Booty said Game Pass is only on Xbox, and Xbox like platforms, so like specifically Xbox consoles and PC. That rules out bringing like Game Pass or some version of Game Pass to the Switch. It rules it out certainly of bringing it to the PlayStation 5, which I don't think was ever really a possibility, but still, it's clear this is something exclusive to our hardware and our platforms like Windows. We're not going to plan on bringing this elsewhere, which is cool to hear them just very directly and very clearly say it. I mean,
but that could also change in the future. Like, at one point, if Elder Scrolls comes out and Microsoft goes to Sony and they're like, if you want Elder Scrolls, the only way you can do it is have a Game Pass on your system. They might be like, okay, make a Microsoft exclusive type Game Pass service for our system where only those Microsoft Studio games are on the platform.
I would guess the only way it would work on PlayStation, though, without just the barrage of difficulty of porting games over. I mean, like, Starfield barely runs as is, so imagine getting that running on the PlayStation. Like, it'd be a nightmare. So I think it would make sense to support it by way of xCloud, where it's like an app you can launch on your PlayStation 5 and then stream it. That to me makes perfect sense.
But then they don't need the PlayStation 5 actually, because maybe by that time every smart TV already has the Game Pass app. So
it's true, yeah, and that's why, like, why would PlayStation go through the trouble of accommodating that? Especially because there's like, what does Sony get from that? Unless it's like a $10 app you have to buy, and then they take $3 off at the top. Like, what does Sony get from the streaming?
That's how I think Apple and Google do it as well, right? With Netflix and Spotify and stuff on their phone store. So yeah, that might be the way for them to do it. But we don't know. Like, I mean, at one point there will be this big divide again. Like, Microsoft will finally have big exclusives, and I think getting Game Pass on PlayStation does mean that the Xbox as a platform for a lot of people get even less interesting, because they can still buy those games on a PlayStation.
Yeah.
Or play them. But
I think with all this, it's cool to see them try to directly address it. Just be like, these are the 4 games. Well, they didn't say these 4 games, but we know the 4 games. We're only doing 4. And our goal has always been to give more players access to more games, and to empower creators to make the best games they can. They're bringing Diablo to Game Pass in March, which is cool to hear them
March 28th.
So they're doing stuff like that, and to me, like, it's just a nothing burger. Like, this whole thing is like, oh, they're bringing these more niche games over to these other platforms, and everybody's been losing their minds over this for the last month, and now it all just kind of looks really, really silly, frankly. After all of this.
And I totally thought it was gonna be more than this, and it might still be, but at least not for the foreseeable future, because we also have The Verge saying that I understand that Microsoft also has previously been weighing up the idea of bringing Gears of War, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and even the next Doom game, which kind of a bombshell that they are basically saying there's a new Doom game coming to rival platforms. And that makes sense. Like, they probably looked at the Doom sales. Like, the most recent one, Eternal, probably sold more on PlayStation than on Xbox and PC. So they're losing a big player base if they're not launching on PlayStation. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But they are still going for a case-by-case basis. But again, right now it's only these 4 games. And those games have lived their life. Like, I don't think there's any benefit to just keeping them on Xbox.
Yeah, I think we're seeing an evolution of their strategy. I've been saying for a long time, as has Phil Spencer, what they've been doing has not been working. So they're trying something different, and that's in the form of Game Pass. And really, what Xbox fans need to understand is that Microsoft has shifted the strategy. So now the Xbox console, the big old box right there, that is a secondary consideration. That's no longer the primary element of their business. Whereas for like PlayStation, of course, selling a PlayStation console is the very first pillar, and everything falls from that. With Xbox, it's Game Pass. If you're playing Game Pass through PC, they're happy. If you play Game Pass through Xbox, they're happy. If you play through xCloud on your phone, they're happy. Their goal is to get software distributed everywhere they can, which has been Microsoft's goal with Windows and everything else they've done, even on the commercial side of things, which is why they bring Microsoft Office to the Mac, even though Apple and Microsoft are not necessarily best friends. They're direct competitors, but they still bring their software to those other platforms. So with all of this, I think it's just there's a big shift. People are kind of still thinking that we're in 2008 and Xbox is approaching things the same way, and they're just frankly not. Whether it ends up being the right decision or not is going to be interesting, but we won't know that for 5-10 years once all of this plays out, once we've seen what like Activision and Bethesda are able to do moving forward with full exclusives on the Xbox platforms. But I mean, I think starting later this year, especially when you get that Indiana Jones game and we get some of the other stuff coming, all of this will be a distant memory. And I think people are just going to be focused on the games that they have pouring out.
But I just don't know if like the Hellblade and Indiana Jones will move the needle though. We also had like numbers, 34 million Game Pass subscribers on both PC and Xbox, and I'm now looking at Twitter and people are saying, and rightfully so, that this might be because they, of course, very sneaky, changed the name of Xbox Live to Game Pass. So if you now have a gold subscription that was previously only for online play, you now also have a Game Pass subscription. So they are probably saying 34 million, which is pretty good, but it's probably because they put those two together.
Man, it's still money's money. They're good either way.
Yeah, but first it was like they had 25 million Game Pass subscribers, and so like X
9
million
Xbox Live,
Live Gold, and now it's like they combined it too. But yeah, like you said, it's been clear that they have plateaued on their platform, and the only like on PC they're gonna make some big strides with like Diablo coming to the service. Like that's gonna be probably big for them. I put this in there as well in the doc. Like that was also a rumor that I thought was even the biggest sort of thing, that maybe Call of Duty is not coming day one to Game Pass, and it's something they did not say outright today. They talked about it in the blog post where it was like, we will share more on those games in the future. So this is only the start of Xbox players being able to enjoy Activision and Blizzard games on Game Pass. We look forward to sharing more more soon. Like that would have been a huge I mean, the game has of course not been announced yet. Maybe that's one of the reasons, but like that was kind of a rumor with these games sell a ton. Like putting Call of Duty on Game Pass, you will lose a lot.
I mean, one of the other things which has been speculated over a lot in the last couple of years as the Activision Blizzard thing has gone through is whether or not there are lingering marketing deals with PlayStation for Call of Duty, because they've done that in the past. And so there could be potentially hoops to jump through. I think
that this was either the final year or after, or this next game is already not. So yeah, they were ending, getting to the, either last year was the final game with the PlayStation agreement or this year's game.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe then it's blocking that, of course.
Yeah. It's going to be like with all this stuff, there's so many lingering licensing deals. And I mean, these multi-billion-dollar corporations, they have deals spanning like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years at any given time. So it's not as simple as just like pivoting 180 degrees. So there will be probably some weird things that happen where like, oh, this skin is exclusive to PlayStation. And everybody's like, what? But it's an Xbox game. What are you talking about?
With Deathloop, of course, and Ghostwire Tokyo as well, when they bought Bethesda, they already had those deals. So those games were launching first on PlayStation and not on Xbox. So, yeah, like you said, yeah. But we will see. And like what I was already kind of teasing, we did have a next-gen Xbox quote. It was also in the video. So, again, people were kind of worried that with Xbox, putting games on other platforms, that they were kind of moving away from the hardware. That was just, I don't really get why you would get that to that conclusion when hearing that a Starfield might come to PlayStation a year later. But yeah, people were kind of worried about that. And I think because that worry was, a lot of people were talking about it, they felt the need to say that the company is invested in the next generation roadmap. And what we're really focused on here is delivering the largest technological leap you will have ever seen in a hardware generation. Boom. Yeah. That's some big words. That's some big words right there. Of course, it's kind of wild to already. It feels like the Series X that I still have to repair somehow. No, but that's it's still fresh and new. But yeah, they basically said, hey, we're in the hardware business for a long time. And they also said that at the end of this year, in the holiday period, they will talk about some exciting things for the Series S and X as well in terms of hardware. And we, of course, thanks to the FTC court battle, of course, learned about a diskless Series X and Series S, I think, as well. So maybe they are still going ahead with that. We will see.
Yeah. I think all of the outrage over all of these, rumors and things, it now looks pretty silly, and it was all just speculation at the end of the day. But hearing that they very clearly have a lot of big plans in the works, they're not giving up, and specifically that they're not just aiming to do like a refresh, but they are aiming, their goal is to provide the biggest leap technologically that you've ever seen in hardware generation over generation. And that is a big promise, because in years past, I mean, there's been some pretty big leaps, like the jump from Xbox to the 360, even to the One to a lesser extent, but certainly from the One to the Series X, like those were big leaps, and they're promising the biggest leap. So I don't know what that means, if that means that they're leaning into more like AI
probably
stuff,
cloud, right?
Or cloud stuff. Like, that wouldn't shock me. Like, everybody's starting to shift towards the generative AI stuff. So maybe they start to do, as Apple calls it, neural engines in their devices to try and specifically be able to do on chip or on board processing of different AI tasks for NPCs and stuff in games. You could start to see that become a big mainstay in these consoles. But really interesting. And I mean, I think it also doubles up on something we've heard from PlayStation's side of things, which is that console sales have started to slow down, which again sounds weird because it feels like this generation just started, but we're headed into 4 years that these consoles have been out, and that's over halfway through the generation, most generations, in terms of timelines. So they are starting to look down the road, figure out what's coming next, and Xbox apparently has plans, and so does PlayStation.
Yeah, and that was kind of interesting because if you just look at the PlayStation and kind of like they had some big hits, of course, with Spider-Man. We learned that it sold more than 10 million copies, so that's of course great. The console sold really well, but I'm not sure if you want to transition to that, because we do. I have all that info also right in front of me here. Because Sony had their financial call, and they, of course, this is the first time that we have the new interim CEO kind of taking over from Jim Ryan. Of course, Jim Ryan will be stepping down in April. So we have this new person coming in, and I don't think he has like a very knowledge. He has not been like very involved with the gaming side of Sony. So he's just coming in mostly as a business Sony person.
Wasn't he on the phone side of things?
I'm not sure.
I can Google it. You keep going.
Cool. Yeah. So, and that's kind of cool or interesting to hear like a different take on it. So again, PlayStation is doing really well, but they kind of shut themselves, because what they wanted for their current financial year is 25 million PlayStation 5 sold, which would have been a record. So that would be from April 2023 till March 2024. And right now, on January 1st, they are at 16.4 million, I think. So they probably cannot reach the 9 million in January, February, and March. So they now lowered their guidance from 25 million to 21 million, so 4 million less. And that's kind of what the heck. Okay, so they really tried hard during the holiday period to also lower the price of the PS5. Did not work. So they're now kind of like, okay, we are just going to go for a different approach. We're going to lower the price less, and instead of selling more units, we're going to make more profit on these units, because they now sold a lot, but they did not make as much profit. And basically what you were already alluding to, Luke, is that they said from now on, the PS5 will actually sell less. So we're now going from 21 million, that's what they expect for the current financial year we're in, to less than that. And that kind of the peak of the PS5 has already happened, and that we're entering the latter half of the generation, while we're entering the fourth year here. So that's not a good sign. They're saying we don't expect to sell more than 21 million PS5s in the next financial years, even with a game like GTA 6, of course, being console exclusive. So maybe they're just being kind of like safe on that, and maybe they will increase that, because I do think GTA will sell a ton of consoles, but we will see.
Especially if it comes with like PS4 or PS5 Pros and stuff. Like if they have the ability to also offer Pro consoles at the same time, that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. So the PS5 Pro might still be happening this year, but they did not, of course, talk about it. What they also said is that while major projects are currently under development, we do not plan to release any new major existing franchise titles next financial year, like a God of War Ragnarok and Marvel Spider-Man 2. So basically, don't expect a big tentpole release that is like full priced and that will probably sell 10 million in a few months. And that's also kind of a bad sign. They had one every financial year, and now from April 2024 till March 2025, we will not have any of those titles. We already kind of expected it, but it's still sad to kind of hear that.
We're all kind of hoping that they maybe had something up their sleeves. Like, ooh, there's going to be something that they just come out this
like
summer.
Ghost or something.
Yeah, Ghost 2 out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But they're telling investors there's nothing. So they're not going to lie to investors.
Now, I still think this is interesting. I want to like talk about that, and I did not see a lot of people discuss that. It's that they also had this slide where they basically said for the next financial year, so again April 2024 till March 2025, first party software profit will slightly decrease. So that is, I think, interesting, because with them not having a big game like Marvel Spider-Man, you would think that they would have a way bigger decrease, but they're basically saying, no, we still have first-party games, just not as big as those games. But only having a slight decrease still means that you have some big titles. And we know for a fact that Until Dawn is relaunching. That's, of course, not that big. There are rumors about the new Astro Bot. So Concord, of course, the PvP game is still going to be there. But yeah, they we in this financial year we have Spider-Man, we had the Horizon DLC, Rise of the Ronin, and Helldivers 2. And in this next financial year, we don't know anything. We only know Until Dawn and Concord. So there are potentially some not like enormous titles, but still some pretty big titles to offset that. And I'm still holding my fingers crossed for like an Atreus game. I still think it makes a lot of sense to have like a Miles Morales Atreus game. I do agree that him saying don't expect like any major existing franchise titles, that it makes God of War, whatever they will call it, less likely. But on the other hand, it will not be like a $70 game. So
yeah. I mean, I agree. It's really interesting to hear all the behind the scenes things. One of the particularly interesting things that has kind of come out of this, of course, is with the guy that's taking over, at least in the interim, for Jim Ryan, taking over at this very pivotal time in the generation. It's all the more interesting that this guy, Hiroki Totoki, I believe, he has a very interesting background. He's the second highest in command at all of Sony. Like, he is a head honcho. Okay, so he has all the power you could hope to have for somebody in charge of PlayStation. He's taking over for all of that. But what's particularly interesting, especially in line with some of the statements he's made in the last couple of days, is that he has specifically described himself as being, quote, obsessed with growth. And this is really, really interesting, because back when they promoted him in February of 23, before he took over for Jim Ryan in the interim, one of the reasons they brought him on was because of his obsession with growing the business, not just maintaining what they have, but growing it. And it takes me back to something that Phil said in the Xbox podcast just an hour or so ago, is that he said specifically there's two ways that you can handle your business. You can either keep your existing group of customers and increase the ways that you monetize them to milk them dry, or you can grow it so that more people come into the fold and you don't change how you monetize it. You just increase the number of people coming in so you end up making more. It's like, that's how you grow a business. You got the two options. This guy is obsessed with growth, full stop, which could potentially see a shifting in Jim Ryan's approach. It could mean that he doubles down on live service stuff because he wants to grow the live service element. It could mean that he doubles down on greenlighting first-party games, or maybe bringing stuff cross-platform. But at the very least, it seems like if this guy is now taking a more direct role within PlayStation, even if it's only for a year, while they hunt for a replacement, it does suggest that things will potentially change at PlayStation. You could see some more games come to PC. You could see other things like that.
I mean, it's already interesting. Like, we of course have these Sony investor calls often, and this is the first time that we get quite a lot of news, because he just brings a completely different perspective. He also said that he went to the studios from PlayStation and said that everyone is working really hard to fulfill their responsibility to try to optimize the business. And I understand that, but overall growth and sustainable profitability or increasing margin, how will that translate to these goals? I don't think people understand that deeply. I think that is the problem of the organization. So basically, he is saying, I really think it's awesome that we're trying to make the best possible games, but I just think, and we saw that with the Insomniac leak as well, it's not sustainable, and we can probably tweak some things here and there in the pipelines and how we make these enormous games to, in the end, spend way less on them and make way more money. And I do think that's kind of what PlayStation needs, because that's what we saw. The first Spider-Man game, $100 million. The second one, $300 million. And for Spider-Man 3, they were expecting like $350 million or something as a budget. And we now know Spider-Man 2 sold 10 million, but they needed to sell 7.2 million to break even. So that's wild. Like, so it makes sense that, they are going to look at that and
it's interesting that he describes it as having, like, the organization has some significant problems.
Yeah.
It's the benefit of bringing in an executive with fresh eyes and a different perspective, because he'll come in and for one executive, it might be like, oh, no, PlayStation's super healthy. We don't need to change anything. But he comes in and he's like, no, there are huge problems. We have to find a way to increase growth. How are these games we're making going to grow the business? How does that bring new people into the fold? Because PlayStation, there are pros and cons, of course, to being the console leader. But one of the things is like, there's not a lot of room to grow. At least Xbox, there's plenty of room to grow because they're kind of the small dog, the underdog. But with PlayStation, they've kind of won that. Everybody who wants a PlayStation is a PlayStation fan, probably already has one. So how do you grow the business? How do you get more players? How do you get more revenue? Do you monetize them further? Do you try to bring more of those games to PC, which I think has proven pretty successul, especially with Helldivers? And so it's going to be
that's what he has been saying as well. So like, he is saying like in the past we wanted to popularize consoles, and the first party titles main purpose was to make the console popular. Of course, have a God of War Ragnarok, you can only play it on PS5. That will sell consoles. But now with him like seeing that these games are getting more and more expensive, actually going to PC as well makes a lot of sense. And I actually think, and I think Helldivers is the perfect example of that. Because more people are playing, or because it is also on PC, more streamers, for example, play it as well. And there are just way more people talking about it. So I think that elevates the PS5 version a lot as well. So I think it's super smart to launch these games onto systems. And also what we saw with Spider-Man, for example, Miles and Spider-Man 1 did not really sell very well on PC because they were kind of old by that point already. So, I think they're gonna... Horizon 2 years after launch, I think it's gonna be maybe God of War at the end of this year already. That would also be 2 years. So, I do think we're gonna see an acceleration of that.
Yeah, I agree. We're just in a very, very interesting time in the industry where there's a lot of pressures going on. Console sales are starting to slow down a bit. And as we've seen, and what Phil alluded to earlier, was that because it was interesting. He's like, 2023 had some amazing games in it, but the industry didn't grow. And that's really an important thing to note, is like, just because there have been some amazing games released doesn't mean that the industry as a whole is also like at the best point it's ever been. And one of the things that a lot of analysts have been speaking about in the tech sector, and especially in the video game industry, is that growth has started to slow down a lot. Gaming is bigger than ever, but it's also bigger than ever. Like, again, when you're at the top and you got the huge market share and a lot of people are playing games, it's like, where do you go to get the business to grow and the industry to grow? And I think that that's a difficulty they are running into.
Especially because this year is not going to be better than 2023 in terms of new releases. So this is going to be a smaller year, unless like Nintendo can save everyone with the new Switch. But apart from that, the new the gaming industry is probably going to be below what they were last year. So it's very interesting, and that's why I'm, to be honest, kind of surprised that the Xbox news is just that. I really thought they were going more in that direction, because I don't think bringing Halo Infinite or Gears of War to PlayStation hurts Xbox. And I don't think... I really think we're at this point, like, also the Xbox Series X was being sold for $350 in the holiday season. Like, I think people who wanted that already have it. Or people, even with that price that low, people still did not buy it. So I don't think losing Gears will change that. So
I mean, it's my prediction is that a lot of this will hinge on what PlayStation does for the next gen consoles, because right now it looks like Xbox is targeting 2026 for major hardware release. And Sony, it's been rumored, is targeting more of a 2027 timeline. We don't know if that's going to move up, if that will accelerate, but it would be very, very interesting to see Xbox come along with a hugely improved console in terms of power, as they're alluding to, in 2026. And then PlayStation gives them a whole year where they have the most powerful console on the market. And hopefully some exclusive games on Game Pass that can really showcase how graphically impressive they can push it. That's very, very possible. And it will be very interesting to see what PlayStation does, if they try to accelerate the plans or if they just continue doing their own thing. It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, and I mean, the 2026 was, of course, just a rumor, because them talking about they will still have exciting things for Series X and S in holiday 2024. Like, the rumor was that they were gonna not do the mid-gen refresh, even though it might not be more powerful. But yeah, they were gonna skip that for the new hardware in 2026.
Wasn't the leak with like the cylinder trash can looking one? Wasn't that just a Series X but diskless and more storage? So maybe that's just what they're talking about. Is just look, it's a trash can Xbox. It's an X can. You know, like, maybe that's what they do. Who knows? I do want to say, maybe this isn't the most graceful transition, but one of the last things we discussed on our last show were predictions for a particular number. Do you remember what that prediction was for?
It was not a Metacritic score, right?
No, it was for players, peak players for something.
Oh yeah. No, I won. Yeah, big time.
So last show we took guesses, because technically speaking, it was like the day that Suicide Squad, I think, came out, but it wasn't the weekend yet. So we were thinking that the next day, Saturday, the game would hit its all-time peak. I was saying I think they'll hit 30. I think I said 34,000 all-time peak. Like, I was like, they'll beat Marvel's Avengers, which had a peak of 31,000, but I don't think they do much more than that. You said I think 25. I think is what it was.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it peaked 12 days ago at 13,459. Not even half of Marvel's Avengers, which is such a dead game right now that you literally cannot buy it. It is unlisted.
And half of Gotham Knights. Who would have thought when both were announced that this was going to be the game that would do significantly worse? I really think this game has not sold 1 million yet.
Yeah, I mean, the owner estimations, which are very, very flimsy, so don't take these with much weight, but VG Insights guesses 178K on PC. Steam Spy 120. But that's like
on the bigger,
and these are on the high 120. End.
Yeah.
So, but if you take the average between these, it's maybe around 120, 130,000. If you just take those guesses.
And sure, it's more on console, but that still would not reach million easily. So I really think this flop big time. It's really incredible.
It's a big old stinky. Yeah, is not good. Meanwhile, another game that I did not expect to love, but I sure do, Helldivers, is just casually peaking at over 200,000 players 2 days ago over the weekend.
Yeah, that's wild.
And right now, on a freaking Thursday in the early afternoon here in the States, it's at 184,000 concurrent.
I mean, those people are doing it right. Like, all the Xbox fans were like refreshing the YouTube page from Microsoft for that podcast, and everyone's like, I'm just playing Helldivers. I don't care about all this drama. And they're the winners. They're doing it right. They're doing it right.
Yeah, I have a video coming out probably later today on why I think I like Helldivers 2 so much, why I think it works so well. And there's a handful of reasons. I just think that it does so many things well, and it's not trying to be something it's not. And it managed also to avoid all of the drama of live service crap, by not having extremely egregious monetization, and then just also not trying to frame itself as a narrative game. But it's just like, we're just going to have fun and be silly. And people are having a great time.
If we made a prediction about that game, I would have been dead wrong. I really thought that it was flying under the radar, and I did not see a lot of excitement pre-launch. It had like weird trailers during the state of play where they did not really know how to communicate how great it was. The marketing was just really bad. But luckily the game is amazing, so I applaud them. Like, I tweeted yesterday, did Sony buy Arrowhead yet? Because it's gonna happen. They're gonna buy that studio, and it would be like a perfect fit for them.
Yeah, it really is crazy impressive. I don't think anybody expected this to be this big. Not even the developers or publisher. Like most of the server issues they've had are directly because they didn't anticipate 200,000 people playing on PC and however many, a million on console. Who knows?
It's bigger on PC than PlayStation.
Like, it's huge. It's crazy. But I think it's also a testament to how these games. I've used the comparison before. It's like a divining rod. It either points you the right way or doesn't. Like either you have fun with these games or you don't. Either a live service game is something you want to invite your friends to play or it isn't. And if it is, the game will be successful. After I played this, I had so much fun. I have told like everybody in my friend group, everybody I play games with, that they need to get this. And as a result, like just from me trying to convince my friends to get it,
one extra person bought it.
One extra. It's actually seven. Like seven more people have bought it to be able to play and do this, and they're having a great time, and they're inviting their friends to play it. And that's how these games work and grow with growth. And it's also, I think TikTok and short form content has really, really helped it, because there's been so many videos that have gone semi-viral or even viral of people doing crazy things in this game where like they leap onto a tank, call in an airstrike on the tank, and they leap off of it flying backwards, shooting bugs as the airstrike comes in, blows up the tank. And those clips go viral. People see that and they're like, I want to play that damn game.
It sells itself. It's really good, and it's $40. I think that's of course interesting. We had Pal World earlier this year that was $30, so it really seems to be the sweet spot for people that are like, I think $70. You're like, I'm not sure. I really need to do more research, whatever. And for 40, 30, you can way more easily convince people to just bite the bullet and try it out.
I think it is fascinating, because I think when you are in a very good financial position, $70 versus $40 might not seem like that big of a deal. But for the vast majority of people, it's a huge deal.
The price almost.
Yeah. A $40 game is affordable. A 71 is like, that's maybe once a quarter you justify getting that. So you got to make damn sure that game is good. And I think Suicide Squad, if it launched at $30 or $40 or even free to play or something, certainly, I think just a reduced price would have caused a lot more.
Yeah, but it would not have, like, I mean, the right now when we're talking, it's like below the 2,000 players. Like this game, they're gonna do like some sort of crazy, I think. My prediction for why I was gonna go, because they did have an update yesterday. I'm not sure if you saw it. I'm giving you content ideas right here.
Ooh.
They did have an update that nobody liked. They're nerfing stuff. They're removing stuff. So that didn't go over well. But actually, an XP farm that I discovered has been nerfed. But
oh wow!
No, but like this game, I think they're gonna try the Joker season and see, but I don't think it's gonna work. It's not gonna bring more people back. I think usually for DLCs, only 20% of the people come back, and that's like a very small percentage. So there was not a lot here. Even if it was free to play, there would not have been enough to keep people engaged anyway.
Well, and it's
I'm curious how it is for Helldivers. Do you have an idea for what the longevity for that is? Do you think it's like a better suited for that?
It kind of depends on their long-term strategy. They are doing some cool kind of meta stuff where, like, have you played it at all?
No, not really. I was like Banishers and
no, that's totally fine. That. Just like to just explain so people kind of understand what I'm saying. Like basically the missions are all broken up on kind of a galaxy map. And so there's one side of the galaxy is basically being invaded by these bug creatures. The other side is being invaded by these like Terminator looking automatons. And so you can kind of pick which missions you want to do. They're totally different types of enemies. And that can be fun because you're like, if I'm feeling bugs, I'll go over here. If I'm feeling Terminators that shoot at me, I can go over there and do it. And it shakes it up. One of the ways that they could support this long term is potentially introducing another invading faction through another portion of the map. There's other ways that they're doing it where like the automatons might be pushing in further, and so you as a community, everybody playing the game has to fight them back. And so there's cool stuff like that. They also currently have 9 difficulty options. I believe the original Helldivers had like 15. So if they do like basically a seasonal update where they bring a new difficulty option, so they add a level 10, which is just another tier, even more difficult, and it introduces a new class of extra huge, crazy, scary monster, bug, or Terminator, that I think would be reason enough for people to go back in and try it, because it does kind of make its own fun. Like it's just purely cinematic and chaotic in a really cool way. So
did you see the video they put it up today about the potential new Defender mode or something?
I don't think so.
On their Twitter.
I don't think so.
Yeah, they dropped it earlier today. Yeah, I think it's like the studios from Sweden. Where are they? Yeah, they're in Sweden. So yeah, it was like European time. So that's why you probably did not see it. But yeah, they are already teasing like a Defender mode or whatever. Was that also in the first game? Probably.
I did see, yeah, probably a lot of stuff. Seems to be like, this is kind of what I'm talking about with this. Like, they share this and they show how they've launched a new attack. Automatons attack developed world, so they move into a new portion of the map. But this map that they show, like, there are all these sections on the lower portion of it that are just totally empty. And I think there's the potential for them to do updates and stuff where they bring in another faction that comes in down here, and it's all new types of enemies that you can fight.
That would be cool.
That I think drives a lot of players to stay engaged. So I think it has a lot more staying power, and it's also just to be honest, like the chaos and the self-made cinematic feel of everything does help with the repetition a lot.
And
with
the
Suicide Squad, like
three
three missions you repeat ad infinitum, like at the end game, is just not enough to keep people logging in every single day. Whereas with this, like, you can keep doing missions that are fun on difficulty 5, but I can still keep working and managing to go up and up and up and up and up until I reach difficulty 9. And then my brain is just going to be blown. Like, for me, I don't think I'll be satisfied till I can complete missions on the highest difficulty. Like, that for me is the end goal. So it's not even, people are asking, what's the goal of the game? What's the ultimate thing? It's not a narrative goal. It's the goal of, like,
that works the most for co-op games, right? That you don't have to see a cutscene. Like, you're just talking with your friends. Like, you don't want to watch videos. And they're already stepping up. Like, they're hiring more developers to
let's take advantage of this. Players want what we have. I mean, Swordfish Master in Twitch chat is saying the director also confirmed that players haven't seen even 70% of the enemy types yet. If that's true, and there are even more that are on like the super high level difficulties, or maybe they just have made more that they're going to be introducing through updates and patches and stuff, that's super, super cool. Because for me, it's like, what gets me excited is when you're doing a mission and you come across like the gigantic bile titan and it gets your heart pumping, your hands are sweating. Like, that's when I get really excited, and that's the adrenaline rush that makes the game really, really fun. And you might die in one run, but then you and your friends are like, okay, I think I know what I need to do next. I need to bring in these stratagems, and I need to bring in this missile launcher and this and this, and then you figure it out and you're good to go. So I think it has way more staying power. I know some people were guessing that by this week, Helldivers 2 would have already died out. But I just don't think it's that kind of game. I think it's a game that has a long staying potential. The fact that there are upgrades not just to the individual player, but also to the ship, and those affect all of your stratagems, and those are very difficult upgrades to get because they take a lot of materials that you collect on missions and stuff. That, I think, is very, very appealing for a lot of people, and will keep them around longer. And if they keep doing updates like this, where they're changing the dynamics of the in-game fight against these enemies, that's a really cool meta way of motivating all players to work together against like this in-game threat. It's a really cool concept, and I think there's the potential for them to introduce even more threats, or maybe the bugs cross over with the automaton, so you have bugs fighting the Terminator dudes, fighting the player doing missions. Like, there's all sorts of potential for crossovers and
they could really go crazy.
So,
I saw someone say that they worked like 7 years on the game. That's crazy.
I mean, it's so smooth. I believe it. It's crazy. It's very, very
I mean,
good.
they haven't launched the game in like forever, Arrowhead as well. So yeah, it makes sense that they've been working on it. Would not be surprised if they maybe first did the top-down view and were like, yeah, let's make this more like for a wider audience. So
Just get their feet under them, do something a little more approachable.
yeah,
But yeah, it's really cool to see that be successful, and it's a great contrast to some of the other live service games that we've gotten, whether that be Skull and Bones or Suicide Squad or any of these others that have been struggling. It's just a nice palate cleanser in a lot of ways. But
yeah.
so
You have a new membership.
oh,
We
hold
got
on.
Taz again,
Oh geez, I'm sorry.
as always.
Oh, Taz, thank you. Just gifted 5 memberships in YouTube chat. Thank you, my friend, and welcome everybody. Welcome. You are all now officially red flags. Welcome. Let's see. How do you guys feel about Rise of the Ronin and Dragon's Dogma 2 launching on the same day? Which it seems like most players are one or the other. Like not many people are going to try to do both. Which one are you more interested in?
I think Dragon's Dogma is going to be the better game. I think Rise of the Ronin is more my type. I don't know. Yeah, it just sucks. I wish those two games could, because the next game after that is Stellar Blade at the end of April. Like, push it out. I know it's then not in the financial year anymore, but just push it out 2 weeks, and then we have one first, then the other, then Stellar Blade. Yeah, I would probably go for Dragon's Dogma. I think there's more depth there. I do think that game has more interesting things going for it. I think Rise of the Ronin really feels like this sort of game to hold us over till the next PlayStation game that we know will not happen for the next 12 months. But I still think it would be cool. It's just gonna be like a fun evolution for what Team Ninja is known for, like the Neo games. They of course did the Stranger of Paradise game from Final Fantasy as well. That was better than I expected. So this really seems that they've got the proper funding. This is their most ambitious title. But yeah, there are probably going to be some weird open world. Like this is their first open world game. So it's going to be kind of weird in that sense, but the gameplay looks very smooth. It will probably run 60 on the console, and Dragon's Dogma is still a question mark. They did say they had uncapped frame rate, but that doesn't mean they have 60 FPS.
Yeah,
so,
and the Digital Foundry guys, we did a video on that on the live channel, and there were a lot of people that have been questioning whether Dragon's Dogma runs 30, 60, 40, whatever. Yeah. And they did all the frame counting and everything, and apparently it's just totally unlocked. Sometimes it's running at 25, other times it runs at 60. It's just all over the place, and the reason that's an issue is because, just for anybody that might not be familiar with it, like the human eye and brain does not like frame rates to change a lot. The brain much prefers it to be 40 or 30 or 60. Like it may be variable above 90 frames, between 90 and 120, that works. But when you're varying that much between 60 and then 25, then 35, and then 30, and then 60 again, it'll make you sick. It can actually make you like motion sick. So my hope is at the very least, maybe there's an uncapped mode, but give us an option to cap it at like 30. I would rather play it at 30 than uncapped, sometimes going to 60, other times to 25. So I'm kind of hoping that they do something like that, but we'll see. I mean, they're working on optimizations. I think they've been very quiet about what options are there for a reason, because they're probably still trying to figure it out. But we'll see there. Personally, to me, Rise of the Ronin, it's got that kind of stank to it. There's just something about it where I look at the gameplay and it just looks like it's going to have a lot of issues, technically speaking. Like, I think there's going to be a butt ton of pop in. There's going to be all sorts of issues with stuttering, and it's just going to be one of those games, which isn't necessarily like a deal breaker, but it is a I think one more resistance or speed bump that gets in the way of me choosing that
Yeah.
over Dragon's Dogma 2. Because Dragon's Dogma
Yeah.
2 to me just looks so badass and so cool that that's for me, I think, where I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, it's really trying new things for things. Like the first game already did things that we still have not really seen in other games, and they're just expanding on that. And it really seems that Rise to Ronin is just taking 3 different types of games and meshing them together into one. And yeah, with the graphics of a PS4 game, but the smooth gameplay that you expect from that studio. So I'm just kind of like we talked about it before. I just hope that people know what they're getting into, because it's the same price as God of War or Ghost of Tsushima, and it has the PlayStation logo. Like, I hope people understand that it's not that quality that you get. But
that's potentially, I mean, we've talked about that on stream before, is the potential damage to PlayStation's first party game branding by putting their PlayStation Studio logo or PlayStation Games logo, whatever, on all these third party games, which have notably lower quality. Because I feel like Xbox had to learn the hard way with Redfall that if their name is on something, it reflects really poorly if it's not good. And it makes
and we saw that
bad.
with Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, different studios, but it had Square Enix on the box, so people were like, "Oh, I'm not getting that."
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. Maybe, PlayStation dodges all of that. Maybe it ends up being fantastic, but it does seem to be interesting that they are choosing to lean into this publishing so much. I get it. Like, they don't have any first party games seemingly coming this year, so they want to have at least something with the PlayStation logo on it. Still is kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
I'd rather they just, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I'm out of words. I'm out of words. Oh God. Well, with all of this,
we got one quick one. Reinhardt saying €5. Thanks for that. Crimson Desert beta demo confirmed for summer. Launch date Q4, Q1 2025. Really? That's like bigger than the Xbox news. But sorry, Luke, I think you have to go, right?
Oh, that's crazy. Yes, I do have to go. I think I'm kind of dreading it because I think what they have to do, for those of you that popped in late, I slammed my finger in the door of the car taking Lockie out of his car seat, and so my thumbnail is like turning blue and purple and everything. So I've been icing it and stuff, but I'm kind of afraid because I'm gonna go to the urgent care, and basically what they're gonna do is, I think, poke. Okay, for those of you that are squeamish, plug your ears for like 10 seconds. They're going to use a needle, and they poke a hole in the blue part, and then they like squeeze it out and flush the blood out so that it alleviates the pressure. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be a lot. So I'm dreading. Okay, we're good. We're good. Okay. Nothing you haven't seen. Yeah, that'll be $4,000. Yeah, American healthcare, baby. No, I specifically have a healthcare plan to allow where like emergency room visits and urgent care stuff is included, because I have 2 kids and little boys get in trouble all the time. So like when Orion had RSV in early December and was hospitalized, we didn't actually have to pay very much. I mean, we pay a lot every month for our healthcare plan, like a lot, but we didn't get slapped with like a $30,000 bill as a result of that, thankfully, which a lot of people unfortunately do get slapped with, which is crazy.
Damn, yeah.
Just pull up a clip so you know what to expect. Oh, dude, I have any of you guys ever watched Deadliest Catch? Did you ever see that, Joe Raptor?
No.
Deadliest Catch. Maybe it was just like a US thing, but it's basically one of those reality shows like on the Discovery Channel where they brought cameras onto crab fishing boats in the Bering Sea, which is like right off of Alaska. And it's where they go crab fishing. And in that show, I mean, it's called like the most dangerous job on earth because like the mortality rates are super high. People get injured all of the time because you're swinging around 1,000-pound crab pots made of nothing but steel on the deck of a ship that's moving in crazy seas. It's a really great show. Highly recommend you watch Deadliest Catch if you have not. But one of the things in that show was somebody got their hand crushed between like 2,000-pound crab pots, and they had this same thing. And so I saw how they fixed the problem on a crab boat in the middle of the ocean. And so I'm guessing this will not be as bad as what they had to do in that show. But so I know what the worst case scenario is.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a whole thing. But I think the lesson for all of this is that rumors are rumors. Speculation is speculation.
Yeah. Touch grass.
Touch grass. Yeah. And sometimes just because something's being considered does not mean that it's actually going to happen. Like, I can consider chopping off my thumb to get rid of the injured fingernail. I can consider that and then immediately go, nah, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't mean confirm Luke's chopping off his thumb. That's not what that means. But people were acting like that, where it's like, yeah, Microsoft has considered bringing Starfield and all of their future games day one to PS5. They considered it. Are they doing it? No.
Still think that would have been smarter though, but hey.
I think they would have to be super clear. Like, only after a year will do it. I agree it would be upsetting
they're
for
still
people.
not super clear. Like, they still are leaving. They're now just say these four for now. So
they want to leave the door open. I mean, no corporate bigwig wants to ever lock themselves into a commitment. I mean, God knows they locked themselves in with a lot of commitments during the FTC stuff for Activision. So I'm sure like they have to be so freaking precise with their language, which is probably why they're not doing this podcast live or with an actual Q&A with a journalist. Like, they need to be very, very precise with what they say. Being clear is being self-restrictive. Exactly. And if they can avoid being restrictive, just avoid that. Like, stay flexible. Be water, as Bruce Lee would say. Be water. That's the key. But all these YouTubers putting it out like it was fact for clicks and views and money. I don't know. Maybe I'm just out of the loop. I know like there were some really funny Xbox fanboys that were like singing like funeral, whatever they call them, songs to their Xboxes, throwing them away, burning their Xbox shirts.
Yeah, no, there were really also people like on Twitter, I'm gonna step down, I can't do this anymore. Like,
there was like that one Xbox creator who was saying he was gonna retire because of it. Like, that was just really cringe. And I hope we can all join together and laugh at them. But most YouTubers I know of, at least, like, I think there was a misconception where people thought reporting on the rumors was confirmation of the rumors, and that's not the case. And maybe those creators need to be more clear moving forward, including myself. I mean, maybe I contributed to this unintentionally, but I do think it just needs to be very, very clear always. Like, this is just a rumor.
For my weekly gaming news roundup, I did look at some thumbnails, and you do have, for example, Mr. Mediplay say, "This is insane. The end of Xbox is here." That was his title.
Was it? Was there a question mark?
There was a question mark. I have not watched the video, to be honest, but
it is like, funny. There's a rule in marketing that we talked about in college where it was like, if you ever see anything like online where it asks, there's a name for it. It's like the Wilhelm question, or there's something like that. There's a name for it. But it was like, if there's ever a question asked in a news story or article headline or anything like that, YouTube video headline, the answer is always no.
Yeah.
So if a YouTuber ever makes a video that's like the end of Xbox question mark, the answer is no. So it's always makes me laugh whenever I see one of those.
Yeah. We have Colt Eastwood said Xbox console wars dead. Xbox game going to PS5.
Well, nobody should take him seriously, so that's okay.
And and is Xbox dying, but also with a question mark. So
the answer's always no. Yeah, always no.
Okay.
I don't know. The video is in line with what y'all are saying, though. He doesn't think it's that big of a deal. I understand, like, asking the question in the thumbnail that is very dramatic, probably drives more clicks than everything. But I think when you have an Xbox focused channel, you have to be extra careful. Just because a lot of people will just see the thumbnail and just go with that.
He probably explained it well. I'm sure of it. And
I've just found it, and I would offer this as just a sort of word of comfort to a lot of creators out there, anybody that might see this. I have found out that when my thumbnails are less clickbaity, they perform way better. Like if I just say the game was trash in the thumbnail and the thesis of the video is that the game was trash with like Skull and Bones, that does really well. I don't need to do, does this game live up to the hype? Question mark. Because the answer is always going to be no whenever a question's asked in a thumbnail or video title. Like, I don't need to do that. I have found in my experience with a lot of testing, just saying it clearly and concisely, viewers respect it a lot more. And they just are like, okay, I know what I'm getting into. And they like, it works way, way better. And you also get, it's more rare for people to misconstrue your points and say, well, didn't you say X, Y, and Z about that game? And it's like, no. Well, I saw a thumbnail and I thought you said that. Okay, well, watch the video, dumbass. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
But anyway, all of that is yeah, exactly, Leo. Maddie is the reason people broke their Xbox. Confirmed? The answer is always no whenever a question's asked. So no. That's great. Yeah, with all this, I just think it's the unfortunate reality for a lot of these creators is that they jumped the gun, and now I think a lot of those diehard Xbox fans are looking a little silly, and I just think it's an affirmation again for everybody that sometimes the answer is a lot less dramatic than you might think. It might be exciting to think Xbox is leaving the console market. It's probably not the case. It's probably much more boring than that. Usually it is, at least. Let's see. Thank you real quick to Judson also for the $5 super chat. Well, this is a stepping stone. If future games, will come to other consoles, 4 games will be the start, and then we will see. Yeah, they want to keep their doors open for sure. But, I think it's unreasonable to panic and like burn your Xbox consoles and retire and stuff, because there's the potential that in future years some games might go to another console. Like, it's just the reaction a lot of these people had were indefensibly ridiculous, like hilariously out of left field. It was just crazy, outrageous how a lot of these people freaked out about all of this, and unnecessarily. I mean, it really was ridiculous. And Hi-Fi Rush on Switch will sell easily 1 million in opening week, and I can see more games coming in the future. Well, and there's I don't know, 1 million is a lot, but there are some games that I think make sense on the Switch and make sense on other hardware. Like Pentiment is a really good handheld game that you play in bed or on a train, commuting to work. Same with Hi-Fi Rush. Those are really good games for on the go. Not super graphically demanding. They're very artsy. And then the other game, Sea of Thieves.
Great on PlayStation Portal.
Yeah. Sea of Thieves and Grounded, they benefit from bigger player bases. So bringing in all of those PlayStation gamers is a fantastic opportunity for Sea of Thieves and Grounded to become better games even on Xbox, because there will be more players out there to matchmake with and play with. That's a win. I don't see how that harms anything. And that's why I think it was really telling when you would kind of press people, why would it be bad for Hi-Fi Rush to go to the Switch and to PlayStation? Why would it be bad for Grounded to go, or Sea of Thieves?
It was mostly the Indiana Jones and Starfield things, I think, that made people get angry, and those are not happening.
Yeah, I think those I think if they came, like Indiana Jones came day one to PlayStation 5, that would feel weird. Like, okay, well, why did you buy all these studios if you're just going to treat it like it's not like, what are we doing? But and if somebody was just upset about the potential of that maybe happening, okay, whatever. But being upset over like Hi-Fi Rush going to Switch or PlayStation or Sea of Thieves going, I think it would always just come down to, well, no, it's our exclusive. They can't have it because then it won't be just ours. And that to me, I think is just a silly reason, especially when bringing it to other platforms will verifiably increase the player base and therefore lead to a healthier game and community. So I just think it works better.
100%. I think Sea of Thieves will be the most popular of those. I don't see Pentiment selling really well. Hi-Fi Rush, I'm not so sure.
Maybe in Japan. I mean, like you said.
Sure.
A lot of players might have been interested in that just literally couldn't play it because they didn't have Xbox.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Maybe that's the thing. I don't know.
And Grounded, I'm not even sure if they're still supporting that, but guess they are.
I don't know. Anyway, it's been a crazy week, but The lesson for everybody is just to calm down, keep a level head, and you won't look like an idiot when more information comes out.
Yeah, get that Xbox out of the trash can.
Yeah.
It was not worth it. It was not worth it.
Soon you'll have an Xbox that looks like a trash can, so you won't have to even throw it anywhere. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you have any closing thoughts to offer everybody?
Yeah, don't buy Skull and Bones.
Don't buy Skull and Bones. That is wiser words have never been said. That's a very good way to end it. And then my closing thoughts, I guess, would just be play Helldivers and watch your fingers indoors.
Yeah,
do that.
Good one.
So thank you everybody for hanging. Thank you to everybody who gave us super chats and subs and stuff. You guys are all fantastic. We love you dearly. And we'll talk soon. Much love, everybody. Stay safe. We love you. And we'll see you in the next one.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.